Hey, hey, happy Saturday. It's Saturday. All right. Saturday, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, midday, weekend. I don't give a shit. I'm mixing records. I'm mastering records. I'm producing records. It's what I love doing. I'd rather be in the studio making music and working on music than anything else in the world. I live in LA, so I could be at the beach right now. I could be, hiking in the mountains, but fuck all that. I'm here to make music. All right, so today I'm going back in on this folk rock song, and we're going to get into some really cool stuff. And if you're here, then you're lucky, right? I'm just kidding. No, it'll be really fun. I'm going to get into this session again. It's like a folk rock vibe. It's got acoustic drums. It's got electric guitar, it's got banjo, it's got acoustic guitar, it's got singing, it's got all this stuff going on. And yesterday I did some mixing on it, and one thing that's really funny is that I realized that the stems were in the wrong sample rate. So I had to sample rate convert them because they were like really slow and weird, and I was like, man, did I mess up the audio or something? So I went back and I checked the reference and everything, and I was like, dude, for sure, like they must have been in 48 and my session was clocking at 44.1, which happens all the time. I can't believe it happened though, like on a live session. So I'm back at it, baby. So let's get these drums going. This is the part I'm at right now where I want to sort of get these drums, as these drums come in, I want them to feel like they're in more of a room.
Well, let me tell you now about my no-good rotten spouse. He goes out every night and leaves me in this wretched house.
Oh, what a sin. When did this all begin? When did this all begin?
We've been apart right from the start. He's never put me first.
So I'm liking how the vocal's sounding. I almost feel like it needs to be a little bit more star power, a little more compressed. So what I'm going to do here, I haven't actually compressed it at all. I've cleaned up a little bit of the nasal kind of stuff going on, which I think we can even go a little bit further with. And then what I want to do is I'll probably add like let's add like a nice fab filter compressor. This C2 is just an incredible compressor. I honestly don't know why I wasn't using this for the longest time. I have this on demo. You can see it says buy now. But more than likely, I'm going to buy this thing because I've been using it more and more, and I've had it for like just a few weeks on demo. So I'm going to go to vocals. This is the best thing about this thing is that it has like a vocal compression algorithm. And I'll probably go like up front or spoken word, something like this. Let's try this out. And then the cool thing is this sidechain. I really love this. So you can basically sidechain and sweep out anything you don't want to be compressed. Like, for example, the body. You can also add more into the compressor. For example, if you went like this and you turn this guy off of auto and you beld it out at like 400 where that congestion is. And I think it's actually up all the way up to like 700 or so, which is kind of woofy. But I'm going to try like here, and you push a little bit in, it's going to detect it more on the compressor, which means it's going to compress harder on just that frequency range. Okay, and then we'll set all this stuff. I'm going to check this out.
Well, let me tell you now about my no-good rotten spouse. He goes out every night and leaves me in this wretched house.
Oh, what a sin. When did this all begin? When did this all begin?
We've been apart right from the start. He's never put me first. These things, they always happen to me. Why am I so cursed?
Oh, what a shame.
Okay, now I'm going to start to set the attack and release real quick because I feel like it's just choking it a little bit too much on the initial syllables.
Well, let me tell you now about my no-good rotten spouse. He goes out every night and leaves me in this wretched house.
Oh, what a sin. When did this all begin? When did this all begin?
We've been apart right from the start. He's never put me first. These things, they always happen to me. Why am I so cursed?
Oh, what a shame.
Well, let me tell you now about my no-good rotten spouse. He goes out every night and leaves me in this wretched house.
Oh, what a sin. When did this all begin? When did this all begin?
We've been apart right from the start, he's never put me first. These things, they always happen to me, why am I so cursed?
Oh, what a shame. I guess your marriage was arranged.
No, not at all. Just thought I could make him change.
Okay, and now the next thing I want to do on the vocal, just because I'm starting to get the vocal dialed in a little bit more, is I want to do a de-esser on here because I feel like he's got chains, you know, these little things that are kind of bugging me. Really simple stuff that just really kind of grabs the ear too much. So let's put on the DS here. And I think it's like the change in the CH kind of stuff and the T's that are kind of bugging me with this. It's not necessarily the S.
Well, let me tell you now about my no good rotten spouse. He goes out every night and leaves me in this wretched house.
Oh, what a sin.
We've been apart right from the start, he's never put me first. These things, they always happen to me, why am I so cursed?
Oh, what a shame. I guess your marriage was arranged.
No, not at all. Just thought I could make him change. Just thought I could make him change. Just thought I Just thought I could make him change. Just thought I could make him change. Just thought I could make him change.
Like this de-esser does such a great job of just catching it without taking away too much. So I really like that. So I'm going to do the FabFilter de-esser right after the Pro Q. Now, the next thing I want to do is this is going to a vocal mix bus here, which has Pro Q3 on it, has the Townhouse bus compressor, the Soothe, and the EQ P1A. I want to tame some of this stuff down because that's getting just a little too boomy. And then I think we want to go pretty like bright up here. I think actually for this, I'm not even going to boost it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a different plugin for that. I'm going to use, there's this amazing plugin from Slate that I just absolutely love. And a little bit goes a very, very long way with this one. But it's called Fresh Air. And I just use very, very tiny, tiny little bit touch of it. Like I'll do this sort of thing, you know, not much.
Just thought I could make him change. Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but these things, they always happen to me, why am I so cursed?
Oh, what a shame. I guess your marriage was arranged.
Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me? Well, let me tell you now about my no good rotten spouse. He goes out every night and leaves me in this wretched house.
Oh, what a sin.
See, it still sounds really organic, but it just has like a little bit of that kind of sparkle that helps the vocal kind of stand out in the mix where you're like, oh, that's where the vocal is. I see it. I hear it. Okay, so I'm just going to leave that on. That's on the vocal bus altogether. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start to clear up some stuff because these vocals are getting clobbered by a lot of stuff. The next, like putting these drums in an actual room is going to really do some great stuff for this. And I actually might bus all of these to the drum mix bus. I might actually bus these to somewhere else before I go to the drum mix bus. No, let's just try it as an insert. So I'm going to pop these drums because this is like the main drum kit here. And it's got the kick, the snare, all that stuff. And then it starts to really get going here. And that's just like way too direct for the song. It leaves no room for anything else. It's taking over and clobbering a lot of the mix. And I don't have any other mics, which is really interesting because when he sent me the stems, he was like, yo, I just have the drums in stereo. I'm sorry, this is all we got. Cool. So I got to make do with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop these in a room. And there's a couple plugins that do this that are really cool, but this Ocean Way one is awesome because it runs off the UAD DSP. And I have like, I think 12 cores or something here. So I might as well use that to process room and sweetening effects, anything like that. It really does help. All right, so I have this drums. I think I probably want to go like a longer way. I don't like drums in the corner. I think that's not a good idea for me. Maybe like act like that's the drum kit in the middle of the room sort of thing. I always find that that's pretty cool. And then let's go, yeah, medium's good. And we'll go like an Omni, just really clean, balanced mic. This is 15 feet out, and then we'll turn off wet solo. We'll do a reverb, and we'll just kind of like basically mix this in to where the drums are going to start to tuck back in the room as opposed to them being so in your face. All right, so here we go. And then what we can also do is we can play around with this EQ because I'm getting a lot of boomy stuff. So I'm just going to gain down that boomy stuff in the room. And you can see the master EQ here. That's all I'm doing. I'm just kind of shelving that out. So the room's not firing off on that. Might be cool in the mix, but for now I'm just going to kind of tame it down and just kind of put it somewhere where it's a little bit more manageable. You can also turn on the high pass filter here, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to turn down that EQ because I might like that thump. Is basically what I'm thinking. And then I might switch between these two mics or do a blend of these two mics. But let's try the further mic, the 18 feet with the M50. M50 is awesome. It's basically an M49, but in Omni. So it has two capsules. M49 I've used many times in many recording sessions. And M50 is probably the most legendary orchestral mic in the world, right? If you're anybody old school classic recording for any film scores, etc., they always have M50s and U67s up in the room. It's just like kind of the go-to staple mics for orchestral recordings and stuff. Softens out strings, softens out horns, really three-dimensional microphone, and just a lot of mid-range, like great mid-range information. So I'm going to switch between the M50 and the U67 and just see what we get here. Now, as I think about this, I start to think, okay, maybe when it starts to get more ruckus, I kind of like wetten it, you know, automate that wetness to maybe tuck it back on that part because I really feel like it's getting in the way of everything. So another thing, I'm just going to kind of shelve out a little bit of the highs as well. Not that it really needs it, but I'm just kind of playing housekeeping there. And let's hear this in the mix with the drums.
Well, let me tell you now about my no good rotten spouse.
What a sin. When did this all begin? When did this all begin?
We've been apart right from the start. He's never put me first. These things, they always happen to me. Why?
I guess your marriage was arranged. I guess your marriage was arranged.
No, not at all. Just thought I could make him change.
So I really want that bass to just kind of be a little bit more present. It just kind of feels like a low rumble right now, which is kind of weird for me. I don't know why it's so like rumbly. So let's try to like kind of peak it out a little bit over here.
Let me tell you now about my no good rotten spouse. He goes out.
the best thing about the Pro Q is that you're not getting a whole lot of issues by boosting quite a bit. Like that's 4 dB. That's not really that much if you think about like an API EQ or something when you're boosting. So that's cool. And then I might actually compress just a little bit harder with this, and we'll blend it in. So this is like doing a parallel compression on the bass.
No, not at all. Just thought I'd make a change. Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see.
I mean, now the drums are just sitting way better in the mix. And one thing that it did also by putting it in this room is it helped it sit with this augs, like the perk augs here. The really low stuff should be in the bass. I had it muted, sorry. And the drums, I feel like we have to make sure that there's no rumble in the drums at all so that the bass has that low foundation, because it is really, really low. I really want to compress this acoustic guitar a little bit more. I feel like it just is going to feel better to be just very stay put. You know, it doesn't need to be like, it doesn't need to be super dynamic. You know what I mean? Like an acoustic guitar that's doing what this is doing, jing, jing, jitty, ding, jing, jitty, ding, jing. Like it just needs to stay still, and you just need to hear it, and it needs to be part of like the rhythm section. That's it. Like you don't want this acoustic guitar to be going like it just doesn't feel cool to me. It doesn't feel like a record. So same thing. I'm just gonna put the fab filter on this as well, and I think that this will really kind of just help control it. And we'll go in here and just go to like instrument, guitar, and just, you know, bite and sustain. Here you go. We'll just start with that and just kind of see what we got going on here. That should be fine. And this knee is pretty sharp. It's a pretty hard knee, which is cool, but I think we probably want to go like a little bit softer. And that just means it'll be compressing more over time rather than hitting a point in the threshold where it starts to compress right away. But it doesn't compress until it hits that curve, that hard knee. That's all that's doing. So it's just showing you that. So I'd rather it kind of like be compressing softly over time, like just catching more and more, you know, as it goes, because it's very rhythmic. And then the attack seems like it's probably pretty on. So let's check that out.
Let me tell you now about my no good rotten spouse. He goes out every night and leaves me in this wretched house.
Oh, what a sin. When did this all begin?
Yeah, really nice. It's just holding it together. But another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that this is not compressing anything in the low end. I don't want to be holding that low end together. That's when the guitar starts to sound really smashed, when you try to get all the low body stuff. So I'm actually going to sweep all the way up to like 200, 300 hertz. And just, I'll pay attention to this, but I'm going to play it and just kind of find the sweet spot here. Yeah, really nice point right around the 250 area. Really great, because then you really brighten up the guitar a little bit more, but it's just like very controlled. So let's listen to that in the mix when this all comes in here.
Well, let me tell you now about my no good rotten spouse. He goes out every night and leaves me in this wretched house.
Oh, what a sin. When did this all begin? When did this all begin?
We've been apart right from the start. He's never put me first. These things, they always happen to me. Why am I so cursed?
Oh, what a shame. I guess your marriage was arranged. I guess your marriage was arranged.
No, not at all. Just thought I could make him change. Whoa, I can take.
Okay, it's sounding really cool. I like this a lot. And then I'm going to kind of take down a little bit of this 4/8 boost here. It's nice. It's just maybe just a little too much for me right now. So this is kind of part of mixing. You're going to go back and forth, and now you're kind of tweaking things. But I'm really paying attention to the rhythm section right now. That's really what I'm trying to dial in. I'm not trying to get into, you know, these accents, this solo guitar, all that stuff. I'm not trying to get into any of that stuff right now. I'm trying to make sure I got a foundation that's solid, right? That's super important to a mix for me. Like I'm not going to go in and just start, you know, getting every single track like in order. Like I really just want to get my foundational elements together. Which means I'll have to start getting these doubles and this phone kind of sound. It's supposed to sound like he's having a conversation with someone on the phone, is the notes that I got. So that's kind of what I'm going to dial in. It's this kind of repeat thing here. I'll show you.
It's failed and dreams derailed in the next atrocity. When I couldn't pay my entire way through university.
Oh, life is cruel. If only you had better schools. If only you had better schools.
So that, oh, life is cruel. If only you had better schools. You know, this part, the phone conversation. And then also this double is really, really bugging me, because when the double comes in, you'll notice how clobbered the lead vocal gets. It starts to sound really nasally and really just not good.
Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure.
It's almost like the intelligibility goes way down because he's doubling. But it's also because this vocal just has a lot of like chunky, like really nasally kind of stuff in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring this whole chain down just because I know it's going to be a good starting point. It's the same vocalist, more than likely going through the same exact mic and preset or preamp and everything else. So it's like, why would I treat that crazy different, right? So that's what I'm going to do first. And then the second thing I'm going to do with this is I'm going to start to treat it like it's a double. It's not supposed to be just perfectly on top and doing this thing, which is just going to suck up all the energy. So what I want to do is probably sweep out more of this. So I'm going to take this and take off the dynamics on it. And I'm going to use it more like a cut EQ. And I might even take this and shelve it out, right? So I'm going to shelve out that area. So it's just a little bit more, just a different EQ, basically. And I don't want like that, all that stuff just kind of layering on top of that. So it's a first step, just really simple stuff. And then let's set this compressor.
Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me? Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure.
Like it's almost just too perfect of a double, especially for like this folky kind of vibe. So the next thing I'll do is I'll put this in a room as well. You can also do stuff like throw it into like a pre-delayed reverb, like very simply put. That's the way I would do something like that, just to give it space, right? Like pull it away from being right in your face, just like the other one, like right on top of each other. So what I want to do here is I want to just make a new track. And I'm going to send it to a reverb, and I'm going to just call this room verb, okay? And it's basically going to be treated like a pre-delay verb. It's not going to be treated like this big, long tail verb. Like, I don't want that. I just want like a nice pre-delay to tuck it back in the mix a little bit. So let's solo save this, and then let's make sure that this is also going to the all vocal bus so that they all join at the all vocals, so I can mute all the vocals and the reverbs and effects all at once if I need to. And then the verb, I think for this I'll probably do something from Altiverb. And I think just like getting a good room, like finding a good studio room. I mean, even this Taldex room could be great. But let's think about like how it could make us feel. A lot of times that's what I'm thinking in mixing. Like, how do I want this to feel? I want it to feel like this guy's playing this song at an old church or something. You know what I mean? Or like an old, like a country home in London or some shit, you know, something like that. Like that's kind of the vibe I get from it, you know? So let's find something that kind of gives us that idea. Like this is great, right? This is like brick chapel kind of place, and it might be totally wrong. I might be completely off here, but it's just like that's how I think with mixing. I'm like, where's this guy singing this stuff? You know, he's like at an old chapel, you know, off the hill of Ireland or something. I don't know. Just use your imagination. Like don't be so you don't need to be so like critical and so like judgy and scientific with mixing when you get to a certain point in your mixing career. You just kind of like go by feel. So a big thing here is that we want to make sure that we're getting the pre-delay, right? So you see how this has 0 milliseconds pre-delay? I probably want to bring this up and give it like some like 50 milliseconds or so, depending on the tempo of the track, but I just kind of do this by ear and by feel. And then also this is a 5.2 second delay time, so it might be, or reverb time, so it might be crazy. So what we might want to do is just kind of tuck that back, right? And just so you can see, like maybe make it half, you know? Let's go like 70% of that, something like that. Because all we're doing is we're trying to tuck it back in the mix. So watch what this does when I start to send it to the reverb.
Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure.
Really cool. I like it a lot. And I actually wouldn't mind seeing what it sounds like at 100% with that long tail, because I don't think it's a very natural tail to me.
Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me?
I love it. I think it's great. There's only one thing that I want to clean up, and that's like all the really like resonant ooh, like it has this like really deep resonant thing going on in the low mids here. I'm just gonna clean it up. I'm not gonna like go crazy with it.
Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see.
So that's really nice. It just starts to detach from it, right? And then the next thing I want to do is maybe some really, really subtle doubling. I don't want to go crazy with doubling. I need to be really, really careful with the doubling stuff. So it's got to be like so subtle that your ear doesn't really know what's going on. And another way you can do this is you could literally put it in a room as well. Like we could take this and go, okay, let's just pop it in the Ocean Way room as well. And then also give it that room reverb. And I'll show you what that does, because this could be really cool just to use it for the pre-delay with like a very, like a medium distance microphone going. Let's just try this guy. I mean, C12 might be a little bit too bright, but who knows? We'll see. And then just like go in here and go reverb. And then this actually will have a natural pre-delay because the microphones are away from it. Let's go vocal group, vocal solo, whatever. Doesn't really matter. And then this is cool because the vocal solo will give me the M50, which I really love the M50 on this plugin. It's incredible. And then I go reverb and then take off the wet solo. And let's just try this. Like just give it that room dimension,
Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see.
All right, this just like takes it off of that, which is really, really cool. And I actually like the M50 better. So I'll mute that, and then I'll kind of sweep out the bottom here because we're getting a lot of the bottom from the room verb, sending it to that little church room, which is awesome. I think that's really cool. And then we could even just like give it a little bit more of this, like space, and you could pre-delay it so that you get even more dimension. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for dimension, which is depth. It's three-dimensional. It's not going, wide. It's not anything else besides like pushing into the mix, right?
Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. What? Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see.
That's really nice. And then again, I'm going to take the boom out of the room because I really don't need a bunch more low end from these vocals. These vocals actually need a lot less low end, I think. I think maybe the lead is like okay with the low end it has, but like this stuff is getting pretty crazy.
Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me?
And while we're at it, I just want to see what this this verb would sound like on the lead. So I'm just going to send a little bit of it to the lead to it.
Was ignored, lonely and bored when I was a youth. I never liked the other kids, to tell the honest truth.
Oh, so I hear. You struggled all those years. You struggled all those years.
So I took the pre-delay down on the altiverb because now we're going through the ocean way, which is giving me the pre-delay, right? And then the verb is now going to give me the tail, and that's all I'm doing there. That's why I just cranked that down.
Was ignored, lonely and bored when I was a youth. I never liked the other kids, to tell the honest truth.
Oh, so I hear. You struggled all those years. You struggled all those years.
My parents failed and dreams derailed in the next atrocity, when they couldn't pay my entire way through university.
Oh, life is cruel.
Was ignored, lonely and bored when I was a youth. I never liked the other kids, to tell the honest truth.
Oh, so I hear. You struggled all those years. You struggled all those years.
My parents failed and dreams derailed in the next atrocity, when they couldn't pay my entire way through university.
Oh, life is cruel. If only you had better schools. If only you had better schools.
Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm else has it good from what I see. Why not me?
So now we obviously need to start to tame the gorilla in the room, which is the electric guitar that kind of feels like it's detached from the song right now, right? Like it's just like, whoa, what the fuck is going on? Like, where'd this electric guitar player come from? Like he just came into the church, like just kicked the door down, you know what I'm saying? So let's start to tame out some of this low garbage, because I can just hear it's sucking up the vocal.
Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me? Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me? Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me? Whoa.
It's a really interesting guitar because it has like most of it kind of in the left speaker, but it's going and cutting across and has kind of like a stereo effect to it. So I'm going to try and get basically the center where that vocal is really, you know, prominent. I want to get that center area really clear. So I'm going to use the most basic idea possible is going to be using wave center, right? So I'm just going to turn down the center here. That's all I'm going to do. And just see if I can kind of make a little more room for that vocal.
Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me?
mean, do you see how powerful just like a little bit of one plugin is? You know, like you don't need to go and like, oh, I gotta do a stereo thing and flip the blah 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 and do like 8 different compressors on it. Like this one plugin and a little EQing goes so far, you know? I don't even think I need that much of a boost there. And most electric guitars, you never really want the top. Like, think about what an electric guitar through an amp is, and it is getting distorted through a tube. Most guitars are going to be, there is no top end. The tubes saturate it and roll off the top, always. It doesn't matter. So when you see someone or an engineer, right, or someone, your homie or something is like, yeah, let me mix your shit, and starts like boosting the top of a guitar, just run for the hills. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know what guitar tone is. They're like, yeah, you just got to crank up the top, bro. Make it brilliant. No guitar is going to sound good by just cranking the top end of it. That's absolutely ridiculous. Sometimes maybe with acoustic guitars, you want like a little sparkle on the top end. Fine. But electric guitar going through amp, no. Just doesn't even make sense in nature. It's just stupid. Don't do that. All right? You're going to fuck up everything. Plus, all you're doing is taking up the high end that the vocal could be taking over to make it more star power, right? So just be really careful with that stuff. All right? And then let's get this low guitar and see what these guys are doing together.
Whoa.
Really interesting guitars. I think they're really cool. Such a creative recording. Like I really like these together. They work really cool together. So what I'm gonna do with this is the same thing. Like I don't need any of this up here. It's a lower guitar as well. So I'm gonna kind of bring that back in. And yeah, I think dipping the middle is great. Like you want to dip this part for the vocal, because you don't want the vocal to be taken up by any of that. Another thing you can do on the Pro Q or mini EQs that do mid-side is you could just turn this on and say, hey, I just want this working on the middle. So I want to take this, and then you could actually dip even more, because all you're doing is dipping the 1100, you know, the 1K area just in the middle, not on the sides. You're not taking it away from the guitars on the sides. And that's something that's going to be very, very powerful in treating these guitars, right? And just getting them out of the way. Get them out of the way. Don't try to make the guitars bigger and cooler. Make sure the vocal can be heard. That's the most important thing, all right? Especially in a song like this. Are you kidding me? So here I'm going to go mid, and I'm just going to take this and just get more middle out of there at that 1K area. Now, I'm not dipping the middle. Don't get me wrong. I am literally turning down 1100, you know, that 1000 to like 1300 in the middle of the image. That's it for the high guitar and the low guitar, to make room for the vocal to be in the middle at that 1K area. Okay, so if you look at the vocal, it's going to be most prominent right in here, right?
Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me?
Simple. Okay, now this can actually, I think this can come up just a little bit, and because it's low, it's lower than the vocal is, right? So it can still be in the center a little bit, and that will kind of like, it'll sort of like cradle the vocal, and that's what I want. I like that. Another trick that I use, not really a trick, I mean just mid-side EQing, you know, but one thing I really, really love is the BX Digital. And the Plugin Alliance has a pack that's just incredible for $15 a month. Like, you really can't beat it. Nothing can beat this pack for $15 a month. I think I got like the $20 a month pack, but it's incredible. So if I go into the V3 or the V2, I think it's the V2. Let me see. Hybrid V2. Yeah, no, not that. That's not it. So the V3, just like the mix, the regular mix one. Here, I'll find it here. BX. There we go. So this guy, the best thing about these BX Digital plugins that I just love is this mono maker, right? So I can say like, hey, for this low guitar, I want everything that's going to be like in the 200 and below, I want it to be centered, right? And you can experiment with this so that your foundation of your low end is there. So the low end's not going into the sides and feeling really weird and kind of making you kind of nauseous, you know?
Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me?
Another thing you can do is you can use this stereo width, which is really cool as well on the BX. I love it.
Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me? Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see.
Now listen as I bypass these plugins that I just added to get the guitars out of the center, and listen to the vocal and like what happens with the vocal in the mix on these parts when I take them in and out, okay? So I'm unmuting everything. I'm putting everything out of solo, and I'm going to play everything. And I still haven't treated this banjo, so it's probably right up the middle as well. I mean, I know it is. It's panned to 0 right up the middle with the vocals, right? Everything's up the middle with the vocals. So watch just these plugins, just EQing, mid-side stuff, center, you know, sweeping stuff, putting it more to the sides. And really what I'm doing is I'm trying to get rid of the stuff in the center so the vocal takes the center, okay? So this is before this.
Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me? Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me?
Just clarity of the vocals, right? Now the vocals can take up that low stuff that's whoa. Like when he's singing that, you don't want anything else taking that up. All right. And then this goes back to the concept we explained in the first mix video, that I have this Soothe 2 on the all drums, the all instrument bus. And it's basically, I could even put it on you know, everything, but I don't want to do that. I want to do it on like just all of them to just kind of tame stuff. And with the Soothe, I can say, hey, I want to take these frequencies and see the side chain here. That's going to be my vocal mix bus. So when the vocals hit, I want you to make room for them in this frequency range, right? So watch just what this does to help even more clarify the vocals in the center.
Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me? Well, let me tell you now about my no good rotten spouse. He goes out every night and leaves me in this wretched house.
Oh, what a sin. When did this all begin? When did this all begin?
We've been apart right from the start. He's never put me first. These things, they always happen to me. Why am I so cursed?
Oh, what a shame. I guess your marriage was arranged. I guess your marriage was arranged.
No, not at all. Just thought I could make him change. Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me? the past, the last of my worries at this point. The divorce is almost final, but the custody is joint.
Oh, that's too bad. I'm sure on weekends you'll be sad.
No, in fact, I want him back to move it.
Okay, so there's plenty of things that still need to be done in this mix, all right? So the vocals really, really need help, but they don't need to be like hyper compressed like most people would do on a mix like this if they didn't know what they were doing. They'd be like, oh, you just got to compress the vocals harder and you got to add more, you know, you got to add more cut to them and stuff. It's like, no. You need to get rid of it, the other stuff that's in the way of the vocals on those parts. So you do not want the banjo taking over. You don't want the drums just fucking slamming, you know what I mean? Like you have to be really careful not to do that stuff where you just go, oh, well, now on this part, you know, the vocals really are getting clobbered. I better turn the vocals up. I better EQ the vocals and compress them harder or add sparkle to them, dude. They need an exciter. Like you're changing the idea behind the song and the feel of the song when you do that sort of stuff. So if the vocals need to be this organic folk rock kind of thing, why would you start to make them all like sound like a fucking Britney Spears pop record? It just doesn't make sense. So instead, you need to look at the drums. You need to look at what's going on here. You need to try, okay, maybe I need to automate this down. Maybe I need, when the drums come in really heavy and the vocals are getting clobbered, the drums need to be automated down, right? Because they're doing a lot more. You can see how big of a jump that is in dB. It's probably 3 to 6 dB of a jump just coming into this part. So that's something I need to go in and automate down. I don't need to go, oh man, I need to make the vocals cut. I need to add more to the vocals. No, I like the vocals where they're at. They're sounding good. They're sounding natural. They're sounding where I think the vocals should sound in like a folk record. It has a lot of soul in it. He's got a lot of deep stuff in there, you know. Like we want to keep that stuff. I don't want to fuck with that. All right. And then let's go in and just kind of look at what else is in the middle here, because these are the things that I really want to get out of the middle. So this banjo pick, right? This could even just be panned and we can take care of it. I mean, are you fucking kidding me? You really think that banjo up the middle and these vocals is going to work together? It's absolutely impossible.
Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me? Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me? Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me? Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me?
Another great way to EQ vocals is to take what you have as a reverb, for example, and EQ the reverb return, right? So that when you're hearing the vocals, maybe they're really, you know, soft and low, but then when you're hearing the reverb, it's like high and you're hearing the intelligibility in the reverb. So that's a trick that I've done many, many times in many mixes where you can sort of take a dark reverb and you can start to just brighten it up a little bit. I really don't recommend boosting too much of the high end on a reverb return if it's like a cheesy reverb, digital reverb that's just not that good, because you can really get some really shitty artifacts. And also, like, you could be just boosting like sibilance into the reverb, which could be a disaster, right? But because this reverb is so dark, it works great for this, right? So here's what the vocals sound like, and then the reverb just kind of boosted in that top.
Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me?
Right? It just kind of helps the vocals stand out a little bit more. And, you know, it's nice. It's like a way of EQing without like EQing the crap out of the vocal and putting a bunch of crap on the vocal. So that's cool. And it keeps it more organic too. Like you instead have like a splash in a room rather than a vocal that's like super crispy for no reason. I don't know if anyone's here, but are you guys liking this? Whoever's here? Nobody's dropped any comments. Like, I don't know what's going on. You guys cool? You still alive? This is mixing. It's kind of boring, but you know, this is the art and the science and me talking the whole way through, which is makes it a lot longer of a process, right? But yeah, we just pan this banjo out of the way, out of the center. And the next thing I want to do, yeah, less is more. 100%, dude. You nailed it. Absolutely. Less is more. But you know, like in mixing, what we do basically is we just kind of like shape and shape and shape. And then we back off, back off, back off. Because once you start treating the master bus and you start treating the subgroups and all that stuff, you start to realize, oh shit, I went too far with the reverb. Oh shit, I went too far with that EQ. Oh damn, I overcompressed that, right? So it is very much a process of going back and forth, and it's modular. It's not a systematic process. Anybody that mixes systematically, run for the fucking hills. Don't hire them. Don't have them mix your shit, because they're just going to use like presets. They're going to preset your mix, and it's just not going to work. They're never going to get the feel that you want out of your record. You need to find an artist, somebody that's been mixing long enough to treat the mixing like an art. So I'm going to move this EQ up here. I think this will serve it really well. And then you see this is just in the sides that we're boosting this 6K area. It's not in the middle. And then we're going to compress this as well. I think that's a great idea, great look. And then this PSP E27 is great for getting this 5K, 5.6K. I'm really going to boost it on this part. Check this out.
Oh, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else.
So it's hard because this 500 area is kind of what makes a banjo. But in the mix, you got to be really careful with that area, right? Because it's just not like if this was by itself, yeah, I'd keep the 500 in there because that's the like that's the skin of the drum for me, right? But in the mix, it just doesn't work. So I'm just kind of brightening it up so we can hear it, and that's what this 5.6 is doing. And I actually like this 6.8 a little bit more, but let's check it out in the mix.
Oh, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me? You now.
Okay, so same thing with this banjo. It's kind of right up the center, but I don't think there's vocals happening when this banjo is playing. So I kind of find it's just fine where it's at. We might want to give it some of this just to make sure that all the banjos are kind of treated the same, but I don't think it'll need much more. Like, I'm not trying to do a bunch with this part. And I won't take that 550 out of this part of the banjo. I actually might even add more of it because there's no vocals playing during that part. Sorry, I was muted. But yeah, that 6K on the banjo is 100% just going to make everything, it's going to make it jump out of the speakers, basically. And the banjo is a huge part of this track. Like, if you really get the feel of this track, it's not really about the drums. It's about the guitars, the strings, the banjo. That's the feel of it. It's like kind of down home. I feel like the drums are just there to kind of give it pace and give it like a feel, you know where you're at. And the acoustic guitar is super important too. Like all these rhythm instruments, I think actually even the perk stuff is pretty loud.
He goes out every night and leaves me in this wretched house.
Oh, what a sin. When did this all begin? When did this all begin?
We've been apart right from the start, he's never put me first. These things, they always happen to me, why am I so cursed?
Oh, what a shame. I guess your marriage was arranged.
No, not at all. Just
Okay, so I kind of want this tambourine to be sitting in a room as well. So let's just kind of send that to some reverb here. And I think it's fine to send this to the same reverb that the vocals are going to, like the room verb here. And just a little bit of it. I just want to hear it in a room.
well, let me tell you now about
Sin. When did this all begin? When did this all begin?
we've been apart right from the start, he's never put me first. These things, they always happen to me, why am I so cursed?
Oh, what a shame. I guess your marriage was arranged.
Okay, so let's make sure we get these telephone vocals as well, because I feel like that's a big part of it. I got a question here. Looks like you got a ton of plugins on the drum mix. What are you doing on the drum mix? Okay, so the drum mix is, it looks like a ton of plugins, but really it's not. It's the NLS bus. This is actually a Jason Joshua trick. And basically what this is it's just turning these on. I'm not doing anything. I'm not driving anything. I'm not doing anything with these at all. So NLS, you got Spike, then you go Mike, and then you go Nevo. So it's just basically those in order. You got 8 of those. And if you turn them off, you basically, the drums kind of lose life. And yes, you do need all of them. It's just kind of part of the sound. But let's say I take all those off the drum mix. Let's hear that.
this wretched house.
Oh, what a sin. When did this all begin? When did this all begin?
We've been apart right from the start, he's never.
All right, you see how it's like super 2-dimensional. It's not 3-dimensional. It kind of lost its life. It's not like warm. It's not fat. It's not glued up. This is just basically trying to make it sound more analog. That's all it's doing. So here's with all that on.
This wretched house.
Oh, what a sin. When did this all begin? When did this all begin?
We've been apart right from the start, he's never.
Just makes things come to life. Again, it has a lot to do with the fact that this is kind of trying to model analog gear, analog consoles, and group VCAs. Basically, the buses for the Neve, the SSL, that's all it is. And then I forget what the other console is. I think it's like let's see, there's Neve. That's the Neve guy there. There you go. There's your SSL. And then, yeah, that's Neve as well. So it's actually a Neve. It's the 1080 series for this one here. Or maybe it's EMI. Yeah, this might be EMI. And then this is the Neve. And then the SSL. That's all it is. So what you're doing is you're just basically trying to make it sound more like it's going through an analog console. And I explained this in the last mix I did. I was working on this yesterday, actually. My last live, which I think you should go back and watch that. But when you're mixing things that have organic acoustic instruments, especially in the box or even out of the box, you should use more analog gear, because analog gear gives more warmth. It gives more round edges. It gives more dimension to sounds because of the tubes, the tape, the saturation, the coloration it does with saturating everything, right? It adds harmonics. That's all it's doing. And And then digital processing like fab filters and like, anything else out there really is typically going to be very immediate, and it's very two-dimensional, but it's very immediate. It's very in your face, right? So if you're doing like dubstep and stuff like that, or very, very heavy like EDM electronic music, I think like using digital plugins is great. But when you're doing this kind of acoustic stuff and it's like live players and live instruments, you really want to use analog gear. You want soft sounds. You want things to be rounded. You want dimension in them. You want the saturation of gear. Yeah, future sounds. I'll keep this. I will post this stream so you can definitely rewatch it. Absolutely. Yeah, it really thickens up the drums a lot. And, that's why you also have to follow it with some Pro Q just to clean it afterwards, right? So you can see I actually have to kind of tame down some of that stuff that thickens up. With these drums, it works pretty well, though. Like, usually if I'm doing this like on a trap kit, like when I'm running electronic kits, 808s, things like that through my drum mix, I have to really clean up this area because it will add a lot of fatness. But for this, it works perfectly. It's just really nice. And then I go to my drum master bus, which is adding the R bass, the Shadow Hills compressor, which is amazing, great color. Also just kind of pushes the mids forward a little bit more. And then I have a gate to just gate out some of the noise that all of this stuff is adding. And then the Black Box Designs, which is just adding a little bit more mid-range, a little bit more transience, like a little more life to things. And then the BX Digital, which is giving me that mono maker at 34. And I'm just kind of like taming some stuff. 2K, I hate 2K. Like 2 kilohertz, 2300 kilohertz, like probably my least favorite frequencies in the world. Like just solo those out and you'll see what I'm saying.
This wretched house.
Oh, what a sin. When did this all begin? When did this all begin?
You won't actually hear it until like the snare and stuff comes in, but yeah, 2K is terrible. So what I have also like that I'm going to start working on a little bit more to shape this is I have the Bax Digital. This is literally just sweeping 18 hertz. I could even bring this up to 24 because I don't really think this track itself needs a bunch of low end.
This wretched house.
Oh, what a sin. When did this all begin? When did this all begin?
Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see.
So I kind of like the weight that 18 is giving me, so I'm going to keep that on. And then, yeah, so this Bax Digital, I love this EQ. It's just incredible. It just kind of sweeps things out. I've used this hardware version many times in mastering studios, and it's just awesome. Like, I love it. And then, like, you can also, like, come in here. If we want a little bit more out of this vocal, I can kind of poke out a little bit of this 1-1-8. Like, let's check that out.
I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me?
So this is kind of on the master bus, so I want to be really careful to not overdo anything here yet. But I do want to put something on the master bus really quick that's going to help me quite a bit with shaping this thing. And that's going to be the, let me find it. I love this fucking plugin. It's probably my favorite right now. I get like into these little like grooves where I'm like really in love with certain plugins. And I'm demoing this plugin and I'm definitely going to buy it. It's so fucking good. But Leapwing Dyne 1, this thing is just so ridiculous. So I'm just going to find like a good preset to start with. Like a mix bus or mastering, we can go to like tight bass, more excitement. No. Gentle push might be good. Let me see here. Let's go with like tonalization. No. Let's see here. It's hard. Actually, I don't even need to use a preset. So basically this is like a multi-band compressor, but you could put it into parallel mode. And it's just so good. Like, I love it. Check it out.
I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see.
So right now what I'm doing is I'm just bringing all of these to a threshold where it's just starting to give me maybe 3 to 6 dB of gain reduction on one of the bands. And first of all, it shows me like what's going on with the mix and how it's balanced, like how much low end is hitting compared to how much high end compared to the, the different bands. And once I start setting that, and it is really loud right now, like I can take this down, right? But I can start soloing and I can unlink these. So I'll show you how I kind of start to shape things.
I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me? I must be. Why not me? Good from what I see. Why not me?
Sorry for the double there. So this is actually telling me a lot of information, right? It's saying, hey, listen, you boosted way too much high end on the acoustic guitars, right? So you need to go back and you need to really adjust that. And what that is, it's just your signal to kind of tame back things. You go, okay, cool. I got you. I hear you. I hear you limiting or parallel compression on the master bus. I hear what you're saying. And that's just kind of how I mix. I just like go back and forth. I'm like, oh, okay, I see the shape of the record now. I can kind of tame this down. And I think I can actually bring in more brightness on the vocals.
When did this all begin? When did this all begin?
We've been apart right from the start. He's never put me first. These things, they always happen to me. Why am I so cursed?
Oh, what a shame. I guess your marriage was arranged.
So the vocals for me, like I just want like a little more star power in that mid-range. One of the best plugins and one of the best pieces of gear ever for like focused mid-range is going to be, you guessed it, it's the Fairchild, right? It's unbelievably the Fairchild. I mean, not unbelievably, undeniably the Fairchild. The Fairchild just has this way of focusing the mid-range. It doesn't do very well with like, if you put it on low, like anything that has a lot of lows, like 808s and stuff, it's going to basically sweep out the low sub stuff. It's just not going to work well on that because it doesn't do that well. So the Fairchild has a all tube power supply and an all tube circuitry, which makes it a tube variable mu compressor, right? And it's just incredible and it adds a lot of dimension and it also just works really well in the mid-range. JK Rue. Yeah, man, hit me up, dude. I'd be happy to check out your records and, give you a quote and stuff. Love to hear what you got going on, man. Just shoot me an email. I think that's probably the best way to reach out. And, yeah, man, I take on probably about 5 to 10 mixes per month just because I'm really, really picky about mixing because I also have my own records and I'm mixing my own records. But yeah, man, absolutely hit me up. If I like your stuff and I think it's a good fit and I can knock it out of the park, then for sure we should work. All right. So that's the thing about the Fairchild, like I just want to tell you up front, right, is that it is going to give you more mid-range, and it's going to give you a saturation. It's going to give you 3 dimensions to anything you put through it, just the way it works. So right away for the vocals, I'm thinking, oh my God, I don't want to saturate the vocals with an exciter or something, because that I leave that for like rap music or something, right? Like something more like modern hip hop or modern fucking pop, you know, like Justin Bieber kind of shit. I'm not trying to do that with this. Like Black Bear would be a great example. He lives up the street, by the way, which is funny. I always run by his house. So on this, I'm just going to try to give it something really natural, and natural means tubes to me, right? So let's just find like a vocal preset. We don't need to go crazy here. This is like, here you go, R&B lead vocal. Done, right? So let's start to just tickle this a little bit and just watch what it does with this vocal.
Oh, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for my parents failed in dreams, derailed in the next atrocity, when they couldn't pay my entire way through university.
Oh, life is cruel. If only you had better schools. If only you had better schools.
Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see.
One thing that it's doing awesome as well is it's catching peaks, right? So everybody's got it good for what I see. You know, it's like just nicely massaging that, you know? So time constant is basically like looking at the attack release. It's mainly release. So I kind of want this like at like a mid-range release, like a 3 to 4, somewhere around here. The input gain, the more you push into it, the more saturation you're basically going to get, which then feeds your threshold, which, you know, you can see that it's compressing even at 3. So I can actually back off this if I don't want as much color and I don't want as much drive through those tubes and that tube circuitry. The tube circuitry, there's 4 tubes in the Fairchild that it's pushing through, and they're all the same exact tubes, okay? They're the 68, 70, 63, 86, 63, something like that. Really, really great tubes, all right? They're found in a lot of different things. I think Manly Variable Mu has those same tubes as well. This one has 4 in line, so it's going through 4 different tubes, which is a major, that's the sound of the Fairchild. That's how you get it, okay? So let's start to just give this some just very light compression. I'm looking for tonality here. I'm not looking for a bunch of compression. I'm not trying to get it to smack and like flatten out. I just want to give it a little bit more drive in that mid-range.
Well, let me tell you now about my no good rotten spouse. He goes out every night and leaves me in this wretched house.
Oh, what a sin. When did this all...
Well, let me tell you now about my no good rotten spouse. He goes out every night and leaves me in this wretched house.
Oh, what a sin. When did this all begin? When did this all begin?
We've been apart right from the start. He's never put me first. These things, they always happen to me. Why am I so cursed?
Oh, what a shame. I guess you...
Well, let me tell you now about my no good rotten spouse. He goes out every night and leaves me in this wretched house.
Oh, what a sin.
Well, let me tell you now about my no good rotten spouse. He goes out every night and leaves me in this wretched house.
Oh, what a sin.
Well, let me tell you now about my no good rotten spouse. He goes out every night and leaves me in this wretched house.
Oh, what a sin.
Well, let me tell you now about my no good rotten spouse. He goes out every night and leaves me in this wretched house.
Oh, what a sin. When did this all begin? When did this all begin?
We've been apart right from the start. He's never put me first. These things, they always happen to me. Why am I so cursed?
Oh, what a shame. I guess your marriage was arranged. I guess your marriage was arranged.
No, not at all. Just thought I could make him change. Whoa. Well, let me tell you now about us. He goes out every night and leaves me in this wretched house.
Oh, what a sin.
start, he's never put me first. These things, they always happen to me. Why am I so cursed?
Oh, what a shame. I guess your marriage was arranged. Guess your marriage was arranged.
No, not at all. Just thought I could make him change. Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished. Quite sure everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me? Well, let me tell you now about me. Oh, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me?
Wow, we really got to work on that guy, right? Like he just feels like such a little bitch now. It's like who let this guy in? I mean, dude, all these players on this record are really, really legendary players. Just so you guys know. I mean, it makes mixing so much more enjoyable and just such a better experience. Even if you know what you got to mix and you got to really work for the record, you still just are like, it's so nice to know that the playing is so good, that you don't really need to fix timing and stuff because these players know what they're doing and they have feel to their timing. Like they might be a little ahead, a little behind, but they're always ahead and behind in the right spots and they're pocketing, So gotta love that part of it. Hey, thanks, J Crew. I'm gonna call you J Crew, is that right? JKRU. You just tell me, bro. You tell me what your name is, what you want to be called. I'm going to call you that. All right, so this guitar, this solo guitar, it's like an acoustic guitar. It needs to be in a room. It needs to feel part of the band. And that's going to be something that, is always going to be the case. We probably need more compression on it. We probably need a good reverb. It needs to feel like an actual solo. So we got to treat it very importantly. But before I get into that solo, because I don't want to get ahead of myself, because it's easy to do when you're mixing, I just want to get into this vocal telephone thing. I want to compress this pretty hard. I want this to sound like when you go through the telephone, like if you're on a real phone, not like an iPhone, but like an old school phone, like this line and jacked in, it's very, very compressed. It's almost like, I think it's like 50-1 probably. They just smash the shit out of it. And that's how it has to work to get through the wires and everything, right? Is like you have to compress the crap out of the signal. So that's what we're going to do on this phone. And we're really going to make this sound like it's coming through a phone, which is really important to it as well. So what we'll do is we'll just grab a compressor that I know is just going to smash it. Maybe an R-comp, maybe an R-Vox. R-Vox would be a good one. The thing with R-Vox is sometimes it boosts the low body of it, which is fine. We'll just sweep it back out. But this is what we're going to do with this phone thing is really just really get it,
Oh yes, I think I've heard you say things never go your way.
Okay, and then you're also going to hear there's a ton of noise in there. So what we have to do with that is we just got to boost this this waveform view up to make sure that we can really get rid of that noise, because that's not going to work, man. Like, even if you want it to sound like it's coming through a phone, you really don't want all that at the end. That was just probably because they added an effect the producer did. And by the way, the producer that produced this is also a very legendary producer. He's a multi-platinum. So I'm going to go in here and just kind of clean that up.
Oh yes, I think I've heard you say things never go your way.
Okay, so these are kind of like two different vibes here, which is really interesting. I might actually put these on different tracks. Like that, a lot of the times I'll do that kind of thing because I just feel like these are different timbres, you know? Like, so he's going for a different effect. So I'm going to blade that. I'm going to duplicate this guy. And I'm going to say no. And we're just going to go like that. Pull that guy down. And just make sure that we're treating this really, really well, like a phone conversation. Yeah, RVox is awesome on ad-libs. I mean, RVox is just fucking awesome plugin. Like, let's be real. It's just incredible. Like, such a good plugin. And it's fast, and it works. It does exactly what you want it to do. I mean, Waves has so many good plugins.
Oh, so I hear you struggled all those years. Oh yes, I think I've heard you.
All right, so I'm going to just go through real quick and just pinpoint all the parts that aren't like in this phone kind of filtered kind of vibe, and I'm going to put them on this track below.
Life is cruel. You had better schools. Then this all begin. Oh, that's too bad. I'm sure on weekends you'll be sad.
So I feel like most of these I just need to go down here, and this is the only one doing that effect. And then I think this one is just like a delay off of these ideas, just like an echo. I don't even think it's like it's a delay. I think it's just an echo that he did.
Never go your way. Things never go your way. Those years, you struggled all those years.
So cool. So these guys here, I think the phone delays, I think we can actually make these more filtered. So there's actually a setting in here that's going to give you like a telephone kind of vibe. And I think it's actually just called phone. Let me see here. Tilt shift. Here we go. So phone. Okay, so this is like real basic. Probably take that down. Probably go there. Go here with that. Try that out.
Go your way. Things never go your way. Go your way. Things never go your way.
So that's going to be a lot better for me. And then I also think we can try doing the phone effect on all these vocals, just because I think they all kind of need to be treated the same way, is what I'm feeling.
Oh yes, I think I've heard you say things never go your way. Things never go your way. Oh yes, I think I've heard you say. Oh yes, I think I've heard you say things never go your way. Things never go your way. Oh yes, I think I've heard you say. Oh yes, I think I've heard you say. Oh yes, I think I've heard you say things never go your way. Things never go your way. I was ignored, lonely and bored when I was a youth.
So for the phone delay, I actually want to add like a little bit of a delay. I don't want it to be crazy. I just want it to be something, you know, like it doesn't need to be like, oh man, look at it, it's echoing into, you know, eternity. I want it to sound just like a little bit more delayed is all I want to do. I don't want to go crazy here. So let's try just like a memory man. Let's take the dot off and just go notes. Let's try some here.
Your way, things never go your way.
I was ignored, lonely and bored when
your way. Things never go your way.
I was ignored, lonely and bored.
Your way. Things never go your way.
I was ignored, lonely and bored.
Your way. Things never go your way.
I was ignored, lonely and bored.
Really, really simple. I don't want to go crazy with that. I really feel like his vocals should be very dry. I don't feel like you need to be putting it in outer space. That's not the vibe of what he's trying to go for. The vibe is it's a phone conversation. It's not like do a bunch of crazy effects on it, which is so tempting to do that. Like most people go in here and like, yeah, and then you got to send it to the reverb, and I think you should like chorus that out and make it wider. Like I really don't think that that's what he was going for, and I'm hoping I'm right. So I'm going to actually group these guys. I'm going to say all phones, phone, bam. And then that way I can turn them all down at the same time.
Started long ago.
Oh yes, I think I've heard you say things never go your way. Things never go your way.
I was ignored, lonely and bored when I was a youth.
There's one thing I think I can do with this phone delay is just kind of have it a little bit more wide. I might even like do a pan at the end of it. Like just something to give it some space. Because I think that the echo is the only thing I would affect, is basically what I'm trying to say here. But I just talk a lot, so I do it like really long-winded. All right, so let's go like a rhythm step here. And no, here, let's just go with a basic 2-bar wide. And maybe go like 1 bar on this. Okay, let's try this out.
Things never go your way. Things never go your way.
I was ignored, lonely and bored when I was a youth.
Things never go your way. Things never go your way.
I was ignored, lonely and bored when I was a youth.
Things never go your way. Things never go your way.
I was ignored, lonely and bored when I.
Things never go your way. Things never go your way.
I was ignored, lonely and.
Things never go your way. Things never go your way.
I was ignored, lonely.
So this guy here, I want to send it to some reverb and just like really give it, just like some more space. That's all I'm trying to do here. I'm not trying to like go crazy with this. Like I said, but sometimes effects, you got to be really subtle and you got to keep working the effect and you got to keep working the effect and you got to keep working the effect until it's really sold through, until you don't hear the effect, you just feel it, Like that's what mixing's all about for me, because I am a producer as well. I just think like you got to really feel the music. You don't want to be caught up in the effects. You don't want to be hearing all this stuff. I think it takes away from things. Like I even just don't like the phone thing because it takes me out of like what's going on. I'm like, I really like the song, and then it's like this phone conversation thing. I'm just not really sold on it yet,
Things never go your way. Things never go your way.
I was ignored, lonely and bored when I was a youth. I never liked the other kids, to tell the honest truth.
Oh, so I hear. You struggled all those years. You struggled all those years.
My parents failed and dreams derailed in the next atrocity when they couldn't pay my entire way through university.
Oh, life is cruel. If only you had better schools. If only you had better schools.
Okay, so I'm starting to get sold on that now. I'm like, all right, that's sounding pretty good, man. Yo, Ruben, what's up, man? How you been? LA2A compressor, the Waves one. Yeah, the CLA2A is great. Love the Poig Tech, yeah. Love them all. I mean, here's the thing. The LA2A, the CLA2A, and the Poig Tech EQ are just more like, I think they're just more aggressive, distortion, just more aggressive is the best way to put it, than an actual Pultec and an actual LA2A. And I've used all of them. I've used all the hardware units. The UAD versions are probably the closest to the actual hardware units. The CLA stuff is just a little bit more, it's a little more characterized. Let's just put it. That's my opinion on that. But I do use it a lot. Like I use the Poig Tech, the Poig 670, the Fairchild, the Poig Child, I guess. I don't know what he calls it, but and I use the Poig LA2A, the CLA2A, the Chris Lord Algae one when I need a little bit more aggressive LA2A. Also, the CLA2A adds a little bit more high mids to my ear. So it gives you like a little bit more of that 3 to 5K area that boosts it when you compress as well, which I'm not really that fond of. I actually usually steer away from that frequency range just because it gets so cutty, it like hurts my ears. But you know, like everybody's ears, you hear differently. Everybody hears differently. So far I'm really liking this. One thing, I think the vocals are really, really close. Like this phone thing is really close. But I think we can get probably closer on these guys, these little repeat sections. Not the repeat sections, but this second lane of the phone thing. So I'm going to try something that I think is really cool. Let me see. It's by Mixed DSP. Here, it's called the FutzBox. There we go. And basically we can really just like dial in the sound of an actual telephone, right? So go in here and it'll go earbuds, headphones, telephones, right? Business phone, you know, you got like all these different phones. And I'm gonna just like go through like here, cheap headset, handset, classic desk phone. Like I feel like that's kind of like the vibe that we want to go through, right? And I'm gonna turn off the Pro Q3 here because that's what that's doing. It's doing like the telephone vibe. And we're trying to get like a little more dialed in on this telephone idea.
Things never go your way. Things never go your way. Heard you say. Things never go your way. Things heard you say. Things never go your way. Things never go your way. Heard you say. Things never go your way. Things never. Heard you say. Things never go your way. Things never go. Heard you say. Things never go your way. Things never go your way.
I was ignored, lonely and bored when I was a youth.
Heard you say. Things never go your way. Things never go your way.
I was
It's starting to get there. Like, you know, you got to kind of flip through this stuff and find the right thing. And this also has a filter after it, but we can also do just like the simulation of the phone and then EQ afterwards. I think that might work really nicely. And then just like look at the filters, look at what they're doing. Looks like that's fine. I could probably filter up a little bit more.
Heard you say. Things never go your way. Things never go your way.
Like I feel like that's more of like sounds like an actual phone, like you'd be on the phone with someone. And then let's turn the Pro Q3 on and let's not use all the peaking bands, but let's just use the actual filtering, you know what I mean? So we can really dial in like that frequency range.
Heard you say. Things never go your way. Things never go your way.
I was ignored, lonely.
Heard you say. Things never go your way. Things never go your way.
I was ignored, lonely and bored when I was a youth.
Heard you say. Things never go your way. Things never go your way.
I was ignored.
Heard you say. Things never go your way. Things never go your way.
I was ignored.
Heard you say. Things never go your way. Things never go your way.
I was ignored, lonely and bored when I was a youth. I never liked the other kids, to tell the honest truth.
So I hear. You struggled all those years. You struggled all those years.
My parents failed and dreams derailed in the next atrocity, when they couldn't pay my entire way through university.
Oh, life is cruel. If only you had better schools. If only you had better schools.
Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be.
Like it actually like is starting to sound like a phone conversation, you know? That's what I want. I want it to actually sound like he was having a phone conversation with someone or with himself, like straight up, like they recorded it through a phone. If I could sell that idea through, then I think this whole concept really works. If I can't, then it's going to just sound cheesy like a filtered vocal, right? So I'm going to copy the FutzBox down here as well. And I think that's fine. We can just like kind of filter that down a little bit. Let's try this out.
I've heard you say, things never go your way. Things never go your way.
I was ignored, lonely and bored when I was a youth. I never liked the other kids, to tell the honest truth.
Also I hear, you struggled all those years. You struggled all those years.
My parents failed and dreams derailed in the next atrocity, when they couldn't pay my entire way through university.
Oh, life is cruel. If only you had better schools. If only you had better schools.
Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me? Well, let me tell you now about my no good rotten spouse. He goes out every night and leaves me in this wretched house.
What a sin. When did this all begin? When did this all begin?
We've been apart right from the start, he's never put me first. These things, they always happen to me, why am I so cursed?
What a shame. I guess your marriage was arranged. Cause your marriage was arranged.
No, not at all.
I've heard you say, things never go your way. Things never go your way.
I was ignored, lonely and bored when I was a youth. I never liked the other kids, to tell the honest truth.
Also I hear, you struggled all those years. You struggled all those years.
My parents failed and dreams derailed in the next atrocity, when they couldn't pay my entire way through university.
Oh, life is cruel. If only you had better schools. If only you had better schools.
Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me? Well, let me tell you now about my no good rotten spouse. He goes out every night and leaves me in this wretched house.
What a sin. When did this all begin? When did this all begin?
We've been apart right from the start, he's never put me first. These things, they always happen to me, why am I so cursed?
What a shame. I guess your marriage was arranged. Cause your marriage was arranged.
No, not at all. Just thought I could make him change. Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be big, but I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me?
So a couple things I'm noticing. I just want to make sure that the vocal here on the chorus starts to pop out a bit, right? So what we're going to do here is we're just going to ride some automation on the choruses and just kind of bring it up a couple dB. It's not going to be anything crazy, but I want to make sure that it really still holds out and stands out on the choruses.
Whoa, I can't can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me? Well, let me tell you now about my no good rotten spouse.
So I'm going to probably automate up this stuff when the drums come in as well. So just kind of bring these guys up. And then this chorus, it starts to get really busy. So we're going to bring that up a little bit as well. So here I'm just going to bring up like a dB. Not even a dB. That's 0.8, you know. And then on the chorus here, I'll bring this up actually more than the first chorus. And this also kind of gives like movement to the track as like we get to the further points. You kind of have a little bit more volume on certain parts. So this is like, I'm just bringing this up now like almost 2 dB on this part. And just let's check it out and make sure it's all good here.
I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me? Quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me? Well, let me tell you now about my no good rotten spouse. He goes out every night and leaves me in this wretched house.
What a sin. When did this all begin? When did this all begin?
We've been apart right from the start. He's never put me first. These things, they always happen to me. Why am I so cursed?
What a shame. I guess your marriage was arranged. Your marriage was arranged.
No, not at all. Just thought I could make him change. Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me? Must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me?
Starting to get there. I think just panning this off just a little bit off center. We don't want to go crazy, but you know, maybe even a little off center to the left would be cool. And then we'll try to get this to give maybe a different reverb. Also, I have this send here that I really love, and I basically use it as a widening bus, but it's called fattening. And I just kind of send this to this and just kind of see what this does. Okay, and then if I'm gonna boost here on this, I think I probably want to do it with like a more like Neve kind of EQ or something with just like a little more air. There's actually like a great, you know, air EQ. Let me see here. Find it. I think it's from Eosis. Yeah, air EQ. This is amazing. I love this EQ. This EQ is so musical, man. Like, I don't know. The dude that made this, Fabrice, this guy, musical dude. So in here, I could just go to like acoustic guitar, bam. And then it'll literally like show me all the best frequencies for acoustic guitar. This is literally how, like, this is the biggest part about mixing is like being able to move fast and not think. And if you know your plugins and you know what you should be using and you know like where things are going, you'll figure it out really quickly, you know? So basically here's the gain and stuff, but here's all the frequencies that it's kind of recommending, which I love about this plugin is it's not like, oh, look at, you're boosting a bunch of stuff, right? Like it's just got the frequencies there. So we'll check them out. Okay, so another trick I want to use for this, just because this is a solo and I don't want anything else kind of collaborating on this, is I'm going to use this plugin called Track Spacer that I think is really dope. Let me see here. And I'm going to put it on like the acoustic and the other stuff that are kind of in the same range. You know what I mean? So let's go Track Spacer. And what this is going to do is I'm just going to make room for the mid-range of this, like the bow, bow, bow. You know, so like come all the way up to like here, and then maybe even just like come down, because I still want the brilliance of the sides that rhythm acoustic is doing. But I think like maybe around here is good. And then we'll go mount like that. And then the key input, we'll actually make a bus for this that will send from this Banjo solo. So we'll send these to a bus, and we'll just call it kill bus, right? Or key bus, you know, key bus. And that way, and I'm also just going to make this mono because it's just going to be a mono signal anyway. And then we'll go create, and then this is going to be killed. We're going to kill that guy. See ya, bro. And then, I mean, you can even like literally just disable the track if you want to. And then this is going to be, let's find that bus that's called the key. It's the key bus, and that's going to be showing us what we should be ducking there when that's playing. The best part about this is we can move this around, right? Now we can take this key bus and this track spacer plugin, and we can put it anywhere we need to dip stuff out. For sure, like on any rhythm instruments, instead of like having to do all this automation, we just kind of do, you know, 2021 mix style, baby. That's why you guys came here, right? You want like the 2021 tips. You don't want the fucking 2005 tips. All right, so let's go here. Put that on the banjo. Put that on high guitar, maybe. No, I think just like the low guitar here. This will work. And then what else is going on here? Probably the drums. Like that's going to be a big part of the drums. And then we just kind of, it's just going to duck just a little bit. We're not trying to like go crazy with it. Bass for sure. Like the bass is like eating up a lot of that mid-range area on this part. And you can see the bass is actually much louder again. And then on the drums and on, there's no perk going on. So there we go. So now we got everything there and we can just check this out. So see, now we have space even when it's going bing, 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 bing. We don't have to like over compress this solo thing, right? It can actually have still some dynamics to it. And then the next thing, and probably the last thing I want to do on this guy is give it some reverb. And this is very simple. Like I don't want to go too crazy with this. I just want to throw on like a Valhalla vintage verb. I think would be really cool on this. And then we'll find like a cool either plate. I think plate is going to be good for me on this, or chamber. Chamber's pretty cool as well. And then pre-delay is good. And then we'll probably go like around 3 seconds or so. And let's go now on that. And let's just start there. to hear that on loop too many times before I start going a little bit crazy. Well, let's listen to the part coming and leading into that solo part, just to make sure we're on the right path here.
Well, let me tell you now about my no good rotten spouse. He goes out every night and leaves me in this wretched house.
What a sin. When did this all begin? When did this all begin?
We've been apart right from the start. He's never put me first. These things, they always happen to me. Why am I so cursed?
What a shame. I guess your marriage was arranged.
No, not at all. Just thought I could make him change. Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me? That's the past, the last of my worries at this point. The divorce is almost final, but the custody is joint.
Oh, that's too bad. I'm sure on the weekends you'll be sad.
No, in fact, I want him back to move in with us. But now I'm trapped by his demands. Whoa, I must be being punished, but for what I'm not. Why not me? Well, now I see. Well, let me tell you now about. He goes out every night and leaves me in this wretched house.
When did this all begin?
We've been apart right from the start. He's never put me first. These things, they always happen to me. Why am I so cursed?
What a shame. I guess your marriage was arranged.
No, not at all. Just thought I could make him change. Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me? That's the past, the last of my worries at this point. The divorce is almost final, but the custody is joint.
Oh, that's too bad. I'm sure on the weekends you'll be sad.
No, in fact, I want him back to move in with his father. I rue the day that he was born. He's nothing but a bother.
I understand. Your pregnancy was never planned.
No, that's not true. But now I'm trapped by his demands. Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. rotten spells. He goes out every night and leaves me in this wretched house.
What a sin. When did this all begin? When did this all begin?
We've been apart right from the start. He's never put me first. These things, they always happen to me. Why am I so cursed?
What a shame. I guess your marriage was arranged. Your marriage was arranged.
No, not at all. Just thought I could make him change. Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me? That's the past, the last of my worries at this point. The divorce is almost final, but the custody is joint.
Oh, that's too bad. I'm sure on weekends you'll be sad.
No, in fact, I want him back to move in with his father. I rue the day that he was born, he's nothing but a bother.
I understand. Your pregnancy was never planned.
No, that's not true. But now I'm trapped by his demands. Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me? Well, now I see.
You always choose your misery.
Well, let me tell you now about my no-good rotten spouse. He goes out every night and leaves me in this wretched house.
What a sin. When did this all begin? When did this all begin?
We've been apart right from the start. He's never put me first. These things, they always happen to me. Why am I so cursed?
What a shame. I guess your marriage was arranged. Your marriage was arranged.
No, not at all. Just thought I could make him change. Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me? Well, let me tell you now about my no-good rotten spouse. He goes out every night and leaves me in this wretched house.
What a sin. When did this all begin? When did this all begin?
We've been apart right from the start. He's never put me first. These things, they always happen to me. Why am I so cursed?
What a shame.
Well, let me tell you now about my no-good rotten spouse. He goes out every night and leaves me in this wretched house.
What a sin. When did this all begin? When did this all begin?
We've been apart right from the start. He's never put me first. These things, they always happen to me. Why am I so cursed?
What a shame. I guess your marriage was arranged. Your marriage was arranged.
No, not at all. Just thought I could make him change. Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me? past the last of my worries at this point. The divorce is almost final, but the custody is joint.
Oh, that's too bad. I'm sure on the weekends you'll be sad.
No, in fact, I want him back to move in with his father. I rue the day that he was born, he's nothing but a bother.
I understand. Your pregnancy was never planned.
No, that's not true. But now I'm trapped by his demands. Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me? Well, now I see.
You always choose your misery.
Well, let me tell you now about my no-good rotten spouse. He goes out every night and leaves me in this wretched house.
What a sin. When did this all begin?
We've been apart right from the start, he's never put me first. These things, they always happen to me, why am I so cursed?
What a shame. I guess your marriage was arranged.
No, not at all. Why not me? Well, let me tell you now about my no-good rotten spouse. He goes out every night and leaves me in this wretched house.
What a sin. When did this all begin?
We've been apart right from the start, he's never put me first. These things, they always happen to me, why am I so cursed?
What a shame. I guess your marriage was arranged.
No, not at all. Just thought I could make him change. Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me? That's the past, the last of my worries at this point. The divorce is almost final, but the custody is joint.
Oh, that's too bad. I'm sure on the weekends you'll be sad.
No, in fact, I want him back to move in with his father. I rue the day that he was born, he's nothing but a bother.
I understand. Your pregnancy was never planned.
No, that's not true. But now I'm trapped by his demands. Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me? Well, now I see.
You always choose your misery.
leaves me in this wretched house.
Oh, what a sin. When did this all begin? When did this all begin?
We've been apart right from. It always happened to me, why am I so good?
Marriage was arranged.
No, not at all. Just thought I'd make a change. Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite. Well, let me tell you now about my no-good rotten spouse. He goes out every night and leaves me in this wretched house.
Oh, what a sin. When did this all begin? When did this all begin?
Well, let me tell you now about my no-good rotten spouse. He goes out every night and leaves me in this wretched house.
What a sin. When did this all begin? When did this all begin?
We've been apart right from the start. He's never put me first. These things they always happen to me. Why am I so cursed?
What a shame. I guess your marriage was arranged. Your marriage was arranged.
No, not at all. Just thought I'd make him change. Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what? Well, let me tell you now about my no-good rotten spouse. He goes out every night and leaves me in this wretched house.
Oh, what a sin. When did this all begin? When did this all begin?
We've been apart right from the start. He's never put me first. These things they always happen to me. Why am I so cursed?
What a shame. I guess your marriage was arranged. Your marriage was arranged.
No, not at all. Just thought I'd make him change. Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me? I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me? That's the past, the last of my worries at this point. The divorce is almost final, but the custody is joint.
Oh, that's too bad. I'm sure on weekends you'll be sad. Weekends you'll be sad.
No, in fact, I want him back to move in with his father. I rue the day that he was born, he's nothing but a bother.
I understand. Your pregnancy was never planned. Pregnancy was never planned.
No, that's not true. But now I'm trapped by his demands. Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me? Well, now I see.
You always choose your misery. You always choose your misery.
All right, so just starting to sculpt the overall sound of the landscape. I think it's pretty close, but I really need an ear break, to be honest with you. I typically only mix for about an hour and a half to 2 hours, and then I take an ear break, and then I come back to it, and it's actually been 2 hours and 23 minutes now, and I'm pretty sure my ears are pretty tight right now. So one thing I'm noticing is that there's a lot of mid-range and high mid-range stuff in the instrument bus, and I have to be really, really careful with that stuff. So I'm overall just kind of shaping stuff, but I'm going to probably go back to those individual instruments and just kind of like clean up those little parts where it's like, whoa, that's really intense. Like the electric guitar is really, really hard to make sit in this mix. So that's something I'm going to be battling. But right now I'm just kind of gluing the instrument bus and just kind of getting it to just kind of contain a little bit better. I feel like it's just out of control when it gets loud. Like when everything comes in and the electric guitars and all that, it's just getting loud. It's just getting like too much, you know? And so I'm doing some gain staging and I'm just kind of moving around as I go and just kind of feeling it out. Because at this point I'm like massaging it and tweaking the buses. And then I can go back to like the individual stuff if there's any issues and problems that I'm really finding that are sticking out like sore thumbs, or maybe a certain thing needs to be featured on a part, you know, like the electric guitar needs to be featured more and the rhythm guitars need to come down. I'll do that, all that in kind of automation. So right now I'm just going to use this Fairchild to sort of glue everything on the instrument bus.
I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me? Oh, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me? Oh, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me? That's the past, the last. Oh, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me? Oh, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me? Oh, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me? That's the past, the last of my worries at this point. The divorce is almost final, but the custody is joint.
Oh, that's too bad. I'm sure on weekends you'll be sad.
No, in fact, I want him back to move in with his father. I rule the day that he was born, he's nothing but a bother.
I understand. Your pregnancy was never planned.
No, that's not true. But now I'm trapped by his demands. Whoa, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me? Well, now I see. You always choose your misery. Oh, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not.
There it is. There's my guy. He's saying, hey, you got too much going on, brother. No, now I'm just gonna, I'm just hitting this with some compression that's not in parallel mode. So this is actually going to be compressing. And I probably want to just like pick something that's like tickle the tiny guy. Tickle the tiny guy. Gentle push, you know? Something really, really basic. And then turn parallel mode off.
I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me? That's the past, the last of my worries at this point. The divorce is almost final, but the custody is joint.
Oh, that's too bad. I'm sure on weekends you'll
No, in fact, I want him back to move in with his father. I rue the day that he was born, he's nothing but a bother.
I understand. Your pregnancy was never planned.
No, that's not true. But now I'm trapped by his demands. Oh, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me? Oh, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see.
Yeah, the Ecamm live streaming software like really doesn't like when I go into like master quality on crossover filters and like high processing power. Just like, what? I don't like that. So I want to be really careful with this. I'm just really trying to catch peaks. That's all I'm doing.
I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me? Oh, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure.
So I'm really not liking this this compressor right now. It's just not really working for this style. So at this point, I think I want to use like a limiter. I want to use a limiter. So I'll probably go into like an L2 for fab filter kind of vibe. And let's just like grab something that's going to be, you know, basic, safe. Safe is good.
I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me? the last of my I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not? That's the past, the last of my worries at this point. The divorce is almost final, but the custody is joint.
Oh, that's too bad. I'm sure on weekends you'll be sad.
No, in fact, I want him back to move in with his father. I rue the day that he was born, he's nothing but a bother.
I understand.
Oh, I can't take it anymore. I must be being punished, but for what I'm not quite sure. Everybody else has it good from what I see. Why not me?
All right, I think that's my cue. I need to take an ear break because now I'm going to get into the point where I'm really doing like the final touches on this thing. And then I'll probably go back to any instruments that are really finding a hard place in this mix, which I think it's really the electric guitars. The electric guitars, when they come in, it just kind of like the whole mix kind of falls apart. So there's going to be some automation and tucking in on that. But yeah, you guys, thank you for tuning in. I know this was a long one. This is like 2.5 hours of mixing. So hopefully it was, you know, you learned some stuff, or it was cool to see some of the techniques I'm using. And just know that when I finish this off, I'm definitely going to go for a more organic sound on the master. I'll probably back off on quite a bit of the compression. You know what I mean? So like right now it's just because my ears are tired. And then when I get back to it, I'm going to go for more of a natural. I'm just going to keep tweaking to try to get it so you're not hearing that compression. You're not hearing those things that are pumping or anything that's compressing or limiting too hard. It should really feel organic. And when those parts open up, I feel like those parts with the electric guitar and the, you know, instrument sections that kind of feel like instrument hooks, those should feel a lot more open to me. And so I'm trying to work on that. And I've got all the buses right and everything. I just think it's going to be a matter of automating and, you know, volume gain and writing and stuff, and letting certain things come in and certain things kind of duck a little bit. So thanks for watching. Thanks for joining the process. And if you liked it, share it with someone, like it, comment, you know, do all the stuff you do on YouTube. And have a good night, guys. Happy Saturday. Peace.